during the day and you don't have the time. So what you can do is you can find someone else in where you're generating leads and find somebody like another wholesaler that's willing to partner up with you on those deals.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
Before we started recording, Chico, you and I were talking about there's 2 or 3 different models out there. There's probably more than that, but there's 2 or 3 main ways that you can kind of approach this business. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
There's the 3 models, right? One model is you're just starting out and you're doing everything. You're doing the marketing, you're talking with the sellers. And I think everybody kind of starts in that way. Then eventually now you hit a point where now you want to do more. And so then there's the model of scaling. You're going out and hiring acquisitions, disposition, and you're hiring all these things, and so obviously you're scaling to do more deals, and you're going to have a decrease in margins, obviously because of that, but you're hoping to get over the hump. And then in the end, you're going to build this big business. The thing is that I have always done a kind of a hybrid model. When I first started in real estate investing, I started with the postcards, and then I got them to work. And within 6 months, I was like, I can't deal with these people. I cannot talk to any more of these sellers. And so what I ended up doing, and this is before there were acquisitions managers, I had like 3 buddies of mine, and I'm like, look, I can do the marketing, I can generate the leads. I in no way want to talk to any of these people. I'll train you. You talk to them, you do everything, and then we'll split the deals. And so that's how the majority of my deals were being done. And even then, over the last couple of years, predominantly, that's how I've always done my deals. Going back to that now, that model was a lot easier back then with direct mail because nobody was doing direct mail. The costs were relatively low. And so that model is very much dependent on how how much you're going to spend in order to get a deal. And then the two numbers is how much you can spend to get a deal, and then how much is the money that you can make on an assignment. So like an example, the deal that you and I did, it was a $15K deal, and then I made $5,000, and then I think on that particular campaign I think I spent $800. So that was good money, but I didn't have to deal with anything. Pardo and his team dealt with that, and that deal was a hairy deal because there was a whole bunch of issues on that
very
deal.
Hairy. Very hairy.
And so for me, I look at that as a hybrid model where, and this works for anybody who is. And I had an idea. Actually, I'm going to tell you about the idea. You tell me if you think it's a good idea or not, since we're on this topic. So that hybrid model would work for you if you are somebody who doesn't have a lot of time. So you're working a full-time job. You can do the marketing, but you got to get a hold of these people. You got to coordinate this and do this during the day. And you don't have the time. So what you can do is you can find someone else in where you're generating leads. And find somebody that it doesn't have to be forever, but find somebody like another wholesaler that's willing to partner up with you on those deals. And you can cut different deals, and you could be 40% you, 60% them. You could do 50-50. If you have somebody that's already doing deals and they don't really do any sort of marketing and they don't have the ability to do that, then you're more likely to get a 50-50 split on that. And then what you're doing is you're absorbing the cost. So whatever your costs are for lead generation, that's on you. So you have to kind of manage those numbers. And in the end, now your objective is to generate leads to them, send it to them. The way that I would recommend it, we did it a little bit different with Pardo because Pardo and I are friends, and I know he has his team and everybody's on the ball. But the way I would do that is I would have either yourself or a VA talk to the seller just to vet the lead and see if it's a legitimate lead. That way, up front if you're generating good leads as opposed to waiting, 30 days when somebody says, oh, these were crappy leads. And you're like, oh, I wish I would have known that now, 30 days ago, because then I would have changed some things. So you talk to the lead, and the way you talk to the lead is not in any way a sales-driven conversation. It's just a very customer service-driven conversation. You can ask them a few questions just to see. And then at that point, then now you can send the lead over to your partner. And then now you can always follow back up with them. Hey, what happened with this lead and that lead, et cetera. So that way you kind of know what's happening and whether or not they're doing a good job with follow-up. But you're sending them good stuff. And so if you have a time issue, then this model works great. And then if you have an issue like me, where I just don't like, for me, it's I never like to talk to sellers because I'm just generally not a good salesperson, and I hated making lowball offers. I mean, I'm just a big softie. I didn't like making lowball offers. Getting somebody else to do that to me was the ideal way to do that. So that's kind of like the model that I've always done. And I talked to somebody the other day. I talked to somebody yesterday, and they were like, they have their acquisitions people, and then they have another market that they're running with somebody else like this. And I said, if you have to give up one, which one would you give up? And they're like, oh, I give up where I have to hire the acquisitions and do all that, because right now they're not doing their job and I got to be a sales manager. And it's just like, I just hate it. And so then his way of scaling that is, he has a guy that right now is doing a 35 deal split, but he has another guy that's coming on board potentially at 40. So he's going to have two markets, and they're good operators. So now he's able to make, he's not going to get the full assignment, but it's like he can make it up in volume, but do it without doing any of that work in the background.
And I'm so glad that you, to me, the words that jumped out at me is good operator. If you're going to approach and work with strategic joint venture partners or marketing partners, it has to be the right operator. Number one, obviously somebody that you can trust. There should be full transparency. Chico, we've done this with you. We've done it with a handful of other people. And through Simple Automation and Podio, every time one of Chico's leads would come in, it would be shared with Chico and his team. And then they could actually see, they could track the flow of the lead. They could see the comments. They could see the different status changes. So if that kind of overwhelms you in any way or sounds complicated, it could be a simple spreadsheet. Just transparency. It's got to be an operator that either has a team or is just on it. The last thing you want to do is be spending your hard-earned money and then the leads are just kind of sitting there collecting dust doing nothing. But yeah, it's all about finding the right operator. But if you're really, really good at marketing, find somebody who's not, but is just a good operator, or vice versa. Maybe you're the operator and you suck at marketing.
Yeah.
Find somebody like a Chico, somebody that's really good at lead gen, and it can make a lot of sense for you.
Well, also too, I mean, it's also what you like to do. So you may not be good at marketing, but the other thing to think about is that if you think about it, like I have a course that teaches people how to wholesale, but you can't put in the course every single scenario that comes up with a deal, because there's just so many of them. And so you only get into, like, when you get into the into that world, when you're talking to sellers and trying to negotiate a deal and trying to talk to the buyer and everything else, it's a big obstacle course. And so it's a lot to learn. So even if you're not good at marketing, you can always say, you know what, I think I prefer the marketing side of better. So let me get better at that. Let me figure out a way to do that. And then you can find somebody else that you can partner with. And it doesn't mean forever. And, it could be that maybe this is the way for you to get your first couple of deals under your belt, get some money coming in. And then later on, you can decide, you know what, I feel comfortable enough to talk to a few of these people. And you can always do that as well. Yeah. The thing I thought, so for me, I've always done it that way. And there's nothing wrong with the people that want to build a team, but it just depends on how you like to operate. I'm just a horrible salesperson, because I would spend all my day organizing my leads and procrastinating on calling them. So that's my MO. You would fire me if I was your acquisitions person.
Yeah, it wouldn't work out too well, man. Hope you enjoyed that episode. But before you go, I've had a lot of people recently reach out to me wanting to learn more about Ascend, wanting to understand how the mastermind component works, how the coaching relationship works. And so right now we're actually on a waiting list. But what I would encourage you to do is, if you think you're the right fit and you think you could benefit from being a part of our community, head over to ascendyoursuccess.com, watch the short video, and then just click the apply to join button below. And then we'll be in contact with you if and when a spot opens up. So really appreciate you listening to Flip Empire here, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next show. Take care.